All right. Welcome everyone at the Multi-Network Community Sync. Today is November 15th. And I have two topics to discuss. Let me paste the link to the notes if anyone wants to add some topics by themselves. Yep. So first thing, I want to talk about the KubeCon that we did last week. Me and Doug have presented the multi-networking proposal, the phase one, with use cases. I think my impressions were that we have quite good attendance to the kind of speech presentation. We have some interest after the presentation. Folks have been asking about this. So I think that kind of went well. I think there is high interest in this. And then the other aspect that we heard is about something that I mentioned last time we talked, is the concerns about complexity. So something that we need to start working towards and seeing how to remedy that. Doug, you want to add from your side something?
Yeah, I think that the other kind of impression that I got is there's a few portions of the API that may be really difficult to land our changes and might make us think about our approach overall. One of those is there doesn't seem to be a good taste in people's mouth about the idea of extending the pod object itself. And of course, we want to add a field there so that we can say which network a pod is attached to. Secondarily, from that, the services API is, from a user perspective, people know it and use it and love it, but maybe it's Stockholm syndrome because people are not psyched on the services API, and it may be difficult to say we want to add complexity there that has to be maintained for a long time. So those were a few kind of major concerns that I experienced. But yeah, overall, it was on the positive end. I think that there were some good discussions surrounding that, and hopefully helps us figure out, how to pave the road there. And also, yeah, like Mache said, we had good attendance and good participation from the audience for our talk. So, at the end of the day, hopefully that means we get some more participation and it helps us drive these conversations.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Mache. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. The other thing for that, just to add, is if anything, so this is where we need to have better arguments behind the whole feature. So this is why the next topic. But before we go there, if we're going to have the good kind of backup from the community and push for this, we definitely will ask the kind of the project to then provide us with the capabilities of delivering this outside of core, right? Because that's the kind of procuring kind of sentiment to let's implement this outside of core, right? But as we have it today, it's the only way to do it outside of core is through annotation, which basically we have in form of Multus, and we want to do something more, right? So I see there's a bit of a chat. Speak up, folks. No recording. Okay, let me go from the top. Kevin, no, I will have the recording as soon as possible. I'm looking for it myself. So, but no,
No,
there's
thanks. I didn't want to disrupt your flow. Just an
no
aside. Sorry about
worries,
that.
no worries.
Yeah, thanks.
So the recording.
They said it would be on YouTube within 2 weeks.
Yeah, something
thanks,
like
thanks,
that.
Pete.
Yeah. So as soon as it will be, I will let you know as well, because I'm looking forward for it myself. As I want to see how it turned up from the recording point of view. So as soon as it's gonna be available, I will note about it. I'm looking for it as well. Yeah. What do you mean, Michael? For selectors, what do you have in mind?
Oh, I didn't know if we were there yet. I just threw it on there because I was going to forget.
Okay. What do you
So
have
if-
in mind?
Oh, I know, like as Doug mentioned, that there, I guess there was some issues, or not issues, people did not want to modify the pod spec, adding, the pod network as a property on the pod specification itself. And right now there's an existing pattern that people are familiar with is with service selectors. So potentially moving, on the pod network attachment resource, or having selectors there that can match on pods or something. However, as I was typing that, decided that I could poke as many holes in it as I wanted to and Swiss cheese it. However, it did remove, one ability. So I was just throwing something on the wall.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's another option, which is, I don't know that I like this option either, but dynamic resource allocation, have a resource whose name I've forgotten helpfully, to
DRA,
do with
yeah.
scheduling. And that resource, when you create a pod, if it needs dynamic resource allocation scheduling, another resource gets created by some controller that is the same name as the pod in the same namespace, but with a different type. And that's used for some scheduling back and forth. So something like that could be done. It feels to me very much like something we'd want to do in an alpha and get rid of before we went beyond that. But it might buy us a little bit of time. It might be an option if we have to.
Yeah, I hear you. And that's, I think, definitely DRA. We were looking at DRA for the scheduler, right? But even coming from some of the discussions on the contributors, there is the same sentiment about DRA. So DRA is under question right now as well with all this thing. So there is that, but we'll see how it's gonna go, because multi-network is being bundled with DRA currently, and under the same kind of discussion. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. DRA has its alpha already, but right now I think beta was blocked because of that aspect.
Right.
So
The resource
there's-
they had, I just looked it up. It's pod scheduling context. that you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
control plane. You could create a
Mostly.
similar pod networking context or something.
And I was thinking about reusing the scheduling capabilities of DRA to this, right? Because that will fit perfectly in, right? It's maybe small changes to ensure that DRA controller can understand multi-networking stuff as well. And then just reuse the same concepts that they had, right? That was my kind of idea to just do that. Yeah. All right. So I think to move forward with this, we need more arguments to kind of push this in. So this is where the survey, I think we had some good hint from 2 weeks ago to kind of go with the survey. So I want to kind of go with the discussion. But before that, any other comments or questions about the KubeCon? If no,
Just to say,
yeah.
I thought it was a good talk. I enjoyed it. I thought it did a good job of presenting why we need this, what the use cases are, all
Right.
that sort of stuff. So I know we got pushback, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, thanks.
It had a significant turnout, right? Was it? I
Yeah.
didn't actually watch it, unfortunately. I missed the deadline to pay for it. I think the online. Is it in the big room, the smaller rooms? I'm just kind of curious about the layout. I know it's like the least
Oh,
important.
it was
thing, but
it
I'm
was a
kinda
bigger
curious.
room, right? Yeah, I think all the rooms, there were no smaller rooms. I think this year the venue was huge. You could kind of walk with, yeah, it was large. So all the rooms though, so that's the trade-off, right? That the rooms were huge, and basically initially I think I wasn't like that, but I think most of the seats appeared full, and then we had some folks under the wall like standing. So I think in general we have pretty good interest in that one. We got a prime slot because we were the first one talking. The first slot we were there, and basically the interest was high for this. But yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, for those that missed it. But cool, awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I put this in chat, but just I guess to say it on the recorded record. But yeah, regardless of DRA's fate, I do feel like it's something that would help our effort is to try to align with other relevant efforts too. I know that we had a DRA discussion a while ago, and we had a few people come and present. And I can't say that I'm super in love with DRA. In some ways, it does seem very complicated to me. However, yeah, places where we overlap, we should take advantage of that. And certainly, like I said in chat, like there's some heat on that because of all the stuff happening in AI ML space. And yeah, I mentioned this in the talk too, I think briefly, but yeah, quick history lesson is that device plugins also were spurred on in a big way by folks from NVIDIA for GPU usage, right? And today we use that for SROV stuff, right? So yeah, we should just keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Any other comments? All right. So I want to kind of dig into the survey question. I'm not sure if any one of you had a chance to look at the link. I have it here at me. So I have you share this up. I never did external surveys, so I would appreciate any help. I assume we need to kind of worry about how much someone would like to disclose about their things. But from my point of view, what I would like to achieve is whether someone wants to even use this, and then how many clusters it would be used in, because just having a survey that yes, and we will have like, I don't know, 100 people saying yes, I don't think it will tell us much. But can you read through those? So basically, first thing as just default, whether we want to use someone would want to use multi-network or not. And what I want to kind of even achieve here is, I would hope for folks that don't want to use it to, even if they could kind of populate this, because then we will have counter argument on basically there are folks that don't want to have multi-networking, and that will be kind of the counter to kind of total number of how much people would want to use this, right? So this is something that I want to percentage wise of how many clusters of yours in percent would be used by where you would use multi-networking, and then give a rough estimate how many your organization handles clusters, right? So then we can kind of give some some ballpark of numbers of basically, okay, we got like 1K in total, let's say 1 million, where users said that 20% or 30% said that's going to be used as this, right? And of course, this is something that we need to have the questions so that we can then go ahead and ask everyone in the community to advertise and to answer this, right? Because it will be working both ways, right? It will be working for us, and it will be working for folks that are opposing this, for them as an argument as well, right? Because it will be working double-edged sword, basically. Someone might say that, yeah, we don't want to use it. We use 100K clusters, and the usage for that will be zero, right? So let's have it both ways so that everyone can kind of fit in, and then it will be in kind of in gesture for everyone to have this kind of publicized and answered. Any other
One-
comments on this?
Yeah, one very quick thing about the percentage of clusters. That's potentially a tricky thing to answer because I'm just thinking of the Microsoft answer to that. It's going to have something like 10 million clusters,
Uh-huh.
but the percentage is going to be very, very low. I mean, I'm sure we'll have tens of thousands of clusters that could use multi-network, but the percentage
Mhm.
number is quite low. So I'd quite like to be able to say, yeah, tens of thousands,
That's
and
where
to be able to make the point that we have a lot of use, even if it's a small fraction of the overall use cases. In
no,
some
but
way.
then because this is where exact number of clusters I would use this in, or maybe a ballpark, yes. If you say it's 1% out of 1 million, that's awesome, right? That's 10K, right? So that's why I added this other thing, right? To have know what is the total amount of your clusters. Won't that
My
achieve the same?
worry is it might be
Uh-huh.
0.1% of 10 million or 100 million or some number. So it's still be many thousands of clusters, but it's a tiny fraction, at least at first.
Won't that be the same, Pete? Because otherwise, I asking for exact number, I'm concerned that might be too much revealing. That's my only concern here about this. That someone won't want to kind of reveal, oh, I have 1,000 clusters or so.
Yeah, I'm fine with it having ranges. I just think having a range of total clusters and a percentage that are using multi-network, it's going to be quite hard to put something sensible in there if the percentage is very small, which for some organizations I can see it being.
Fair. Michael, you have a hand?
I might have missed this, so apologies. What's the goal of this survey?
Oh, sorry. So last meeting, I brought up exactly the same concern about the kind of complexity and all that. So someone suggested to create a survey out and have an other argument to how widely multi-network would get used in the Kubernetes user base. And I'm talking Kubernetes user base. So basically globally, how many, who, and so basically then we would have to kind of spread it out as much as we can. And then I want to know, okay, what will be the percentage, right? Yeah, basically that's the idea.
Okay, and I know this is currently WIP. Are we going to consider asking like yes, instead of just yes, no questions, but also like what specifically are individuals interested in and what makes people, uninterested in multi-network? Maybe multiple choice, because I know free-form text can turn into a saga.
I think this is where Doug just added good case, right? To stack rank use cases. So we can list some use cases here, and then we can stack rank them for them.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
So I think that would answer that, right, Michael?
Yeah, I believe so.
So should we change this to what will that be? That will be
So before you figure that out,
yeah.
I mean, this seems like it's asking the wrong question to me. Like, if people are concerned that the API is too complex and it's a bad API for Kubernetes, that's true regardless of how many people want it, right? Like, if it's an unmaintainable API, then it's even worse if lots of people want to use it, because that means that we'll have to do more maintenance on this unmaintainable API.
So Dan, I think that's where we need to have more concrete. This is what we discussed, I think, last time, where we said what are the concretes, right, for that. What's so complex? And because right now I don't see what is so complex around that one. And then the other aspect of this was it is complex, and for so small user case and small corner case use cases, there is no value in it. So I want to kind of beat that argument where no, the value, let's say we will achieve, let's say we will get an answer that 50% of the user base would want to use it. Then that argument goes away, stating that, oh, it's a too small corner case, let's not do this, because it won't be. It will be applied for 50% of clusters. Then we can beat at least that one, right? So this is something that this survey would try to achieve, because whatever you draw it, however you draw it, however you do it, it will be always some level of complexity, right? There is no, unless we just completely go outside of and we just expand on multus on this case, right? Where we just keep to being annotation and that's it. That's the only level where there is no complexity, right? So of course that's the other option. Do you agree, Dan, or do you see that?
I mean, I guess it's complicated and lots of people want it is certainly a better argument than it's complicated and very few people want it. But you know, I mean, and we'll have to get Tim to write out in more detail what his objections are. But it seems to me like he's basically saying we can't keep creating APIs like this. We need to find a new approach within Kubernetes to deal with these sorts of things. And so in that case, like it doesn't matter at all how many people want it, because like his argument seemed to be like Kubernetes just can't support APIs like this.
That's fair. So should we, because that's something that that was on my mind as well, thinking of let's propose something that will be an extension that will work for everyone, and then we can add multi-network to it, right? So then it's extensive, it's not in the core, and then you can build it outside of the tree.
And I mean, well, you know, if we can even do that, that would sort of imply that we can implement this in a way that is not sprawling all over Kubernetes. For instance, that would imply we didn't have any scheduler integration or special kubelet integration.
Fair, that's true.
So, but yeah, but the survey, I get what you're saying. It is still useful data in addition to getting whatever Tim's points are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for the comments, Dan. Any other comments to this survey? I see, Pete, you have a good question about the Multus. That's a good data. Do we have such thing? I'm not sure. Doug, you probably are the owner of that org. Is there some metrics? Are there some metrics of downloads? There probably are, right? I think there is.
And you know what is I guess likely the image polls is probably good data from the GitHub Container Registry. That, I mean, would at least tell us the amount of downloads. But yeah, I don't know if there's like a GitHub metrics for like how many times people pull that thing or whatever, but I think that there should be counts of image polls. That could be good. Yeah.
We might be able to get some sort of data from within OpenShift. I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, let's ask what we can share. That's a good idea.
But in terms of the survey, any other comments?
Yeah, let's build this out. And yeah, honestly, if anyone comes up with ideas, just chuck them in here, because like what I was thinking with number 4 is you know, there may be some of these questions may have more value than others, but some of us may help us figure out a strategy too. Like if we see that like, oh, hey, there's a surprise like use case, and you know, that's like most important to people. If we focus on it, maybe we'll figure out like better scope. So yeah. So load this thing up and then we can trim it down from there. And thanks for starting it, Maciej.
Yeah. And I will convert this to any other comments on the exact value, except for instead of, I think then you're right. I think we don't have to do percentage wise. We can just give like ballpark of clusters that you think it's going to be used in for that. That's fair. All right. So this is all I had. Any other topics to discuss? Anyone? All right. I think let's call it. Give 30 minutes back. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks everybody. All right, bye.
Thanks, Al. Bye now.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.